Any of these things say 10 o'clock?
Yeah, mine does.
Good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary Ann, would you be so kind to move that
Sure.
podium up there? Okay. If there's anybody from the public that wants to make a comment to the board, they will need to go over to the table and read the script and then fill out the form to make a public comment. At the end, we will reserve 30 minutes of public comments time. But you will only get 3 minutes to speak on your topic. The board will not respond unless the chair allows it. Okay,
Does that apply to
No,
public
no.
comments for the,
public hearing, no.
okay,
So it's all different. This is after we've done the meeting.
just wanted to make sure the public was aware.
Yeah, okay. After discussion was held by the board, a motion was made and seconded to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second. You can get, drink wine at, the Olive Ranch now.
Buy it.
Buy it, go outside and drink it.
I don't think that's,
Yeah. And then you go get some cake and sugar makers. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, new hires, Shelby Cervantes. Am I close? Cervantes? Oh, her in there. Yeah.
Hi, Shelby.
Hi,
Are you welcome aboard?
yeah, welcome aboard. Appreciate it. Have you ever done that before? Okay,
But I'm excited to learn. I
Okay.
worked, pretty closely with some telecommunicators in my last position. I called them quite frequently for,
Okay.
certification.
okay, well, great, great. Well,
Pay attention, she'll teach you good.
we're we're here on Tuesday mornings usually, so if you don't have much going on, you might want to tune in or come on up. We can be of any assistance, let us know.
Nice
Thank you.
meeting you.
Thanks for joining the team.
welcome, Shelby.
Okay. Becky Linehan, Finance and Tax Officer, Auditor Office, public hearing on amendment to current Butte County budget for fiscal year 24/25 and appropriate funds.
Oh,
A motion to open the public hearing.
So move.
second,
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Shea,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller.
aye.
Okay, you got something, Becky, you want to?
I've sent what the departments are, amending for. I believe you'll have that in your packet. We have auditor, attorney, roads, public health, human health and services, 911, environmental health, WIC, buildings and grounds, and thriving families. We do have some revenue being amended as well. So the overall expense being amended is 161,726.
Is there anyone speaking against? Seeing none, anybody speaking in favor?
Well, briefly speaking, in favor, Matt Wilbur,
Okay.
County Attorney.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you living now? Where you living now?
104 Wildwood Road, 55083. I pointed out to Becky, so I've added 20,000 to our collections fund That is actually not something that is normally budgeted, so I have no problem with you adding this into your amendment, but I want to make it clear. We're actually not required to budget that fund. It's not subject to Board of Supervisor approval or supervision. I just think in an interest of transparency, when we're spending money out of that fund, I like the state auditor to be able to track it. But as you just read the resolution, it makes it look like I'm asking for an additional 20,000 to be added to my budget. We have a lot of money sitting in that fund, and sometimes I take advantage of that, and spend it. I could budget $0 and spend 300,000 if I wanted to. That's just the way that fund works. So I don't want, as I read your resolution, for the taxpayers to think I'm asking that I overspent on my budget. We've got an additional 20,000, we're starting a new diversion program. I'm sending some attorneys to some different trainings. I'm just taking advantage of those opportunities. But I'm not actually asking for any additional to general fund, supplemental fund, any taxpayer fund.
Good, thanks, Matt. Anyone else? Seeing none? So, board's pleasure,
I'll make a motion to go out of,
close.
to close the public
Second that.
hearing.
Motion to close, second, Shay. Any discussion? Yeah. Hearing none, roll call?
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen,
Aye.
Supervisor Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Okay. Approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 18-2025, amending the county budget for fiscal year 24/25.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Shay.
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman. Supervisor Miller.
Aye.
Okay. Approval and authorize the board to sign resolution number 19-2024 to appropriate funds from amended budget for fiscal year 2024/2025.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 19/2025.
Second.
There was. Discussion? Becky, at all on that? You want it? So roll call?
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Shay.
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Okay. Becky Linehan / Finance and Tax Officer, Auditor's Office, public hearing on Five County budget fiscal year 2025/2026. And to approve and authorize board to sign resolution 20-2025 regarding the Pot County budget for fiscal year 2025/2026. Motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen,
Aye.
Supervisor Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Okay, we are open. Becky, you want to,
So this is just approving our budget for FY 25-26. I'd like to thank the board for all their hard work that they put into this. And I know there's many challenges and, you're under scrutiny when it comes to budget and spending money. You did manage to cut the budget by 45 cents or the levy by 45 cents. We haven't done any bonding or debt since 2022. Public service is expensive, and I think our county is very fiscally responsible. And thank all of you.
Thanks, Becky.
thanks for,
Nice.
Thank you, Becky.
thanks for everything. Becky.
It is hard. It's the most important job that this board does, and that's It's hard.
You,
And we're gonna take a deep breath when it's.
I'm telling you,
you and Dixie and Theo, you guys.
you got a good team.
If I may say, Becky and her team have worked very hard on this, so thank you very much.
It's a challenge, and I think it's gonna be a bigger challenge next year possibly. I hate to think that, but yes, it's gonna be,
These rules look like.
they figure them out.
Okay. They'll figure them out 3 minutes before it's due.
Anybody else, speaking in favor? Anybody speaking against?
Can I speak?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys want me to go up to the podium?
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to, Fran, if you don't want, but we do need to have your name and address for the record.
Happy to speak. I'm in free form, so hopefully I won't get all choked up. Fran Mearsla, 213 West Ferndale Drive, Council Bluffs. I did have an opportunity to review the recast for 24-25, the actual finish for 23-24, and then the budget we have for 25-26. I know those kind of come out. I try to match them up to the fiscal year that they belong to and compare them year over year. I've mentioned here a couple times, it's really hard. It's hard for me, somebody who's kind of steeped in this sort of language of finance and business sort of things. I know you have a big putt ahead of you here, but it's hard for me. I can only imagine how challenging, actually, I do know how challenging it is for the average taxpayer. Again, we're really lacking some context around some of this stuff. And frankly, it's a real short-term budget. We're looking ahead a year, and then in another 6 months, we're recasting where we think we're going to be. And then again, in another 6 months, we recast where we were. And there's a lot of variation in there in a single year. I think in the last full year that we now have, which would be 23-24, we have about a 18% variation in expenditures in there. Expenditures that we thought we were going to have when we went into the budget, and then what actually ended up being the expenditures. So the items that are in here. And that should be a little, that should have a little more transparency on it for the taxpayers. I've got some ideas on that. I've pointed to some other counties that can probably have some help there as well. I'm willing to help on this, honestly, as just a citizen, just to help keep it clear. I do have questions about things that are kind of unanswered, and I'm not even sure how to address them. Like, you know, I haven't been a huge fan of the ski follies, ski resort. But then getting into things like what are the capital expenditures that are planned in here year over year? There's no context on that, and that's kind of a big deal. So again, I'm encouraging better transparency on this. I do think things are gonna get harder. The challenges that our school districts saw this year that happened in changes in the legislature are gonna be changes you're gonna see next year. So, you know, there's a lot we can do to make this better. So,
Well, these state forms and the way we have to publish it aren't really user friendly. You know, we should, and I get what you're coming from, we should put out another one that is probably more to the level where you want to see those things. But I can't, for the state's purposes, we have to do what they give us to use to fill in those.
the plus side in that is that you're right, it's a prescribed form. The city has it, the
Right.
school districts have it, everybody's playing in that same ballgame.
And then in the general public, it's hard for them to decipher that.
It is. One of the things that the board used to do, I remember that, you know, this is back, gosh, when I made a run at supervisor, they had a publication in the paper. They had basically a little, that was a good starting point. You know, that's
Right.
gone away. We've lost that transparency. Now we have a couple of years of information, and then you have to go dig in the state if you want it
Right.
and, you know, piece it all together. So I appreciate that it's prescribed. I appreciate that in itself is confusing. It does enable us to compare, you know, across all 99 counties, who to who. I often pick Scott County because they're a border county, about the same size roughly. It's a little different, but at least it's a somewhat of a sister county.
Right.
So, that's one I go to quite frequently. So that context, like I mentioned, even having the budget available here for public comment, I know there's not an overwhelming audience for this. It's a little intimidating, but even just having the hard copy available for folks is that sort of stuff, some of the simple steps.
Sure.
So again, I'm willing to help. I think we need to do this. I think, like, I have no idea what the risk in here is, but I can guess this is gonna change in the next 6 months. I can even further guess, you guys know where things are a little vulnerable, but that's where it ends. It doesn't make its way out to anybody in the county.
Well, and fortunate or unfortunate, these last probably 3 or 4 years, Mother Nature has been a challenge for our county. So, I mean, those things if you can tell me those or what's gonna happen there, I mean, so, I mean, and the budget has to do some tweaking at that point.
I appreciate that as well, but I also realize that some of that funding to recover from that comes from federal level, state level, and then a county level.
Well, I'm still waiting for money from 2011 and 2019, and I'm in 2025.
Okay, I don't have any insight on it.
No,
So-
I'm just,
If that's a risk that's not going to come into your revenue stream, I think that's another item to highlight for the budget. Hey, this has been out there, we're waiting for it or we're expecting it, but, I don't know.
you don't
I have
know.
no
We
idea.
don't
Well,
know.
you have better sense, but let the.
No, I don't, because the administration tomorrow could say, we're not paying any more FEMA money.
I understand.
Yeah,
So let's, I've received this, I've gone through it, I compared each year back into the context of what had been shared for the original budget year, the recast, and then the final. The only one I got some real insight right now is that 23-24. I am encouraged, I will give you a little props here, I'm a little encouraged to see the conservation budget kind of level out a little bit. And, other than that, that's all I have to say.
okay,
I do have a question for you. You obviously look at the city budget too. Is that
Not as much.
as much of?
I do a little bit. They have narratives out there that they do try to do a little more, I'll call it community outreach. That's probably crappy. They try to, I think, explain it a little better. I think they make the effort, but I'm sorry, with a question.
Well, that's why, how's the city budget compared to the county budget? That's why I was gonna ask. Easier to understand, but you said they have more explanations in the budget.
Well, I will share, I have gone to the city before and actually asked for some better understanding on things under the hood, and they've been very amenable. That's not to say that the county wouldn't be, but I also think they do a better job. I haven't reached out on anything in the county specifically because I think I understand it reasonably. With the city, I think they do hold a little more, open hours by the councilman to say, hey, let me know what you think about selling Dodge Park, what you think about, the trolley, what you think about the budget, how this all fits together. So I think they do a little better job of that, honestly.
Because we had a discussion before. I know. For me,
Right,
because what you think
What's in
they
there?
pertain to
right,
isn't necessarily what
right.
they pertain to. And it's been mentioned that the city has a better line item.
Yeah,
Process.
yeah, I think they do. I think there's a little more.
that's by state code.
Yes, and we can't amend those things because of the regulations of.
And I understand, it's just, there's nothing in here and nothing available in the website or, even frankly, through non-pro reporting on, you kind of dig in to find out what's changing year over year, where's the risk? That's what I want to know. The budget number itself, you guys do have a big putt, you do have a lot to manage here, but what's at risk in this number? And I look at some of it and like I said, I'm relieved about the county environmental stuff is hopefully starting to levelize, but some of the other items in here that have swung, you know, the debt service has come, it looks like that's coming down. And even the measure of annual year-over-year change in there, is that from the last fiscal year, or is that, you know, the same cast fiscal year, or is that from, 6 months ago sort of thing? So it's a little confusing. I think you guys can help illustrate that. Nobody's gonna get mad if you're telling them the truth, you know?
Right.
Seriously,
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I agree.
Tell the story.
Yeah,
Anyway.
what, hey, friend, did you find that website at Iowa State, that gentleman, Doctor?
I did not. I was actually gonna, come back to you with that and ask you about it.
I'll get it for you.
Okay, I appreciate
And
that.
get it to you. And he does all 99, and Mitch, is he just 1 year behind?
I think so.
So he's just 1 year behind on those and his assessment and such.
Okay,
Doctor, do you know what I'm talking about?
I
Doctor,
know what you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
okay. No, I'll get it to you here later today.
yeah, I did look and it was University of Iowa and I looked Iowa State thinking I got it wrong.
No, it's at Iowa State.
Okay,
The guy's been doing it for, he comes, here, I don't know, like every third year, like in Southwest Iowa, and does a presentation on like whatever the 7 or 8 counties,
okay,
just an overview, but then he's got the detailed stuff and stuff, but I'll get it to you.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so that's what I had. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Thanks, Fran.
Anyone else speaking in favor or against?
I just want to confirm one thing.
Yeah.
Becky, there was a discussion or comment about publication, and our budget has been published in both papers, correct? Thank you very much.
Okay. Motion to close,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen, Supervisor Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller.
Aye.
Okay, motion by or second to approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 20-2025. A resolution to approve Potawatomi County's budget for fiscal year 2025/2026. Said resolution is set out as follows.
Make the motion to approve resolution number 20-2025 with my thanks to Becky and to Mitch for putting this whole budget
I'll
together.
second that.
Discussion.
Good job.
Hearing none. Roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Okay,
I'd like to add my name to appreciation for you, Mitch.
okay, Matt Wyatt, Director of Planning and Development, second consideration of ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Potawatomi County, Iowa by changing the district designation of approximately 2.8 acres from a Class A2 ag production to a Class R2 urban transitional district, and to adopt ordinance number 2025-02 into law.
I'll move that, we approve the second consideration of ordinance 2025-02
I'll second that.
and adopt the ordinance into law.
Okay, discussion.
This is the one we had the public hearing on last week, and there weren't any public comments.
Correct. This is for the Snicklaw property, Minden Township. The address on it's 29425 310th Street. It's kind of right outside of Arrowhead Park there. Their hope is to be able to apply for a conditional use permit. Location
Crawdads.
Yep.
They're gonna sell crawdads?
and worms,
Okay. You know,
maybe.
okay. Hey, are they gonna apply for a liquor license too?
No, not that.
Will they be, have the ability to have it there?
It is hard to throw, I mean, it'd be up to the board, but part of their, that is, when we were discussing their conditional use permit, I mean, that kind of gets into that zoning board adjustment
Right.
aspect of it.
Okay, but not at this time.
No, it's,
Any other discussion? Hearing none. This is, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, John Rasmussen, engineer, discuss the DOT budget and the county 5-year program. The DOT got a budget, do they, John?
Well, it's your budget. I just have to format it for the DOT. So it's,
Can we back up? I think we need a roll call vote on that last ordinance that we just approved.
That's what I was wondering, but it doesn't show that on our,
Well, sometimes we have to.
no, I get it. So,
Roll call.
yeah, please,
Chairman Bell,
aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Shay,
aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you. Kept on looking at that one,
Something was missing.
yeah. Other than me.
Me too.
Okay, wow, nice colors.
It's a little overwhelming.
So,
You have this in a PDF or Word format?
I can get it to you. I submitted the one last week.
So you don't have one for us today?
No, I submitted one last week to the board. It's the same version. Mitch just has.
you
Cannot find
use,
file.
green, yellow, red. And stuff like.
You didn't move the file after you sent it to me, did you?
No.
Well, I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
You don't see it right there.
This doesn't include any projects that are scheduled for 2025.
No. So we have,
At least 20.
we'll just go through the budget real quick, then we'll get to the projects. The budget's kind of the boring part. So, budget is the same budget you just approved. It's formatted for the DOT. What you probably don't see in my budget is that the ending balance will be down a little bit at the end of this year. We'll be down the next year. We've been,
So, stop just a second, John. So Mitch, can we print that out?
Because we can't see it. There's glare on the screen and the numbers are small.
Yeah.
You will. If
How many pages is it?
11.
Okay.
I don't know if I can print from this. I don't know if I can print from this computer.
Okay, can you forward that to Jeanette?
Becky, can you read the numbers to us? Joking.
Yeah, like this, like Becky, do it with your hands. Sign language.
there you go. So these are just screenshots of the budget. Like I was saying, it is the budget you pass just in the DOT format. They start with carryover balance. We expect to end this year 9.4 basically carryover balance. That goes in next year. We've been spending ahead on rock since about 2014, so that has us deficit spending the last couple of years. As inflation's caught us. So we'll have to figure that one out in a year or two. The next line down, the 5.9 is property tax revenue into the department, 5.9 this year, so it's up about 2.4% previous. Next line, local option sales tax. Budgeted 3 million. We're about 9% ahead this year, so we're probably budgeting. The revenue is a little low there at this point.
Said you're ahead at local option sales tax?
Yes. I think we're getting closer to 3.5.
Okay.
I thought we we're gonna be down.
Is that the highest you've ever got to then?
I think we had 3.6 one year. I just never want to be low in revenues because that's a lot of trouble.
Right.
If we come in high, it always works well. So the other numbers down, you got gas tax there, the 7.6. 19,000 is for the transfer jurisdiction of the cities, and the $852,000 is, the time 21 funds. That was some extra revenues coming from car registrations. They're supposed to go to bridges. That expires next year, so we'll be accounting for those funds differently. The 1.8 million is a bridge replacement project we have. Those funds come to the county, we get reimbursed. Project left this month, so we'll have some expenses this year and some expenses next year, but at the time of budgeting, I didn't know where that was gonna land.
The state reimburses us on them?
Yeah, federal aid reimbursement. We'll get 20% of our funds back.
Okay.
So the total is 3.6 for the bridges.
No, it's 1.8 in either year. The total bridge, that was the amount of federal funding I had.
Right. So you got
We were,
1.8 one year and then 1.8 the next year or not?
no, it's just 1 year. When we did the budget, I didn't know how far I would be into spending it in
Is
that
that,
fiscal year.
is that for one bridge then?
Yes,
Which bridge was that?
that's the Boomer 18 bridge in Boomer Township, Potato Creek. We're gonna have board to the board next week, for award. So total funds to account for are available to spend are the 20,652,292 at the bottom there. So you can read it right, Brent?
Thank you, Jonathan.
So there was a line for miscellaneous revenues in there. That was just a table of those. Our revenues, a lot of them come from permits for overweight trucks and entrances, utilities. We have some scrap in there as well. Zoom back out a little.
We do have this in our packets. The slideshow, it's a separate attachment. It's not in the packet itself.
These are screenshots off the budget program. I thought I sent them last week for you guys to review ahead of the meeting, but I got buried. Local construction, these are projects we're doing with local funds. We'll also have them on the map later. Look at those. So those are bridges up there. The next page. Several more bridges. So a lot of activity on the bridge program. We have one that's going to carry over from this year into next. But like I'm very more.
How is our derelict, or whatever you call it, bridge program going?
Or what? Derelict.
Or bad bridge, how's that?
Cruising along. We hope to have answers for all the truss bridges. We have 7 of those remaining. I think in this 5-year program, I think we get through our poorly rated bridge, but I'm losing 2 a year as well. So we're always sliding at the same time. Go to our service areas. So the DOT has me budget in service areas. My 7,000, they're listed at 700 up there, but covers my administration and engineering. Our administrative costs are about 2.56% of our budget, which is really lean. I like that number.
So in that 2.5 number, John?
Yeah.
How many people would be in that?
That's 3 of us.
Only 3 of them people are considered administration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then engineering expenditures, that's been coming up because we're these federal grants where we really have to invest in them to get in. When we started budgeting this, I was fairly certain we'd still be chasing them, and now I'm kind of lacking some certainty that those will exist throughout this budget. So I'm not sure that we'll make those expenditures. I guess if we're confident in them, we will, and if we're not, we won't. But that kind of bounced up basically to get some more engineering power using consultants. Roadway maintenance, those lines are pretty self-explanatory. Bigger changes in bridge and culverts, we're not doing less. We moved some of those line items to inventory. it's just easier for us to track. We're buying materials that we don't use in the same year, and it really wreaks havoc on my DOT reporting. So I put them in inventory, then I can track them that way. Gravel's coming out of that $10 million line item there, which is about 3 million of that. Snow and ice has been pretty steady the last couple of years. All good on those. New equipment's been a struggle since the availability of things got tough. It's getting easier, but prices really haven't come down, and I'm not sure what tariffs and all these other things are gonna do to us yet, but pretty big line item there. You can see the line jumped up from $100,000 to almost $1 million there. That's the material being moved from one line to the other. So total expenditures are,
Have a state mandate?
no, we have to report in our annual report. And I'm always in this conflict where it takes me 5 years to do something, but when I report, it's like a snapshot of a year. So I'm trying to figure out how I can bring all these years together. And I think if I keep this up in inventory, I can buy in one year, track the cost into others, and it should help my reporting, but it's just me trying to clean up a report that never seems to work in my favor, I guess. So total expenditures are 23,791,327 for this year. That's up some because we have that, well, we have the 1.8 in both years. So that's it on the budget. Like I said, the budget's what you already approved, just formatted differently. Then we jump into the 5-year program. This is probably where the map helps. I'm sorry to people in the audience, you don't get one. Funding here is FM is part of market funds. We get funding allocated every year to us through gas tax and the like for about $6 million worth of work. Federal aid is bridge funds or other federal aid that we can bring in. So Tamarack would be bridge funds up there, lower down where it says North Rock 15. That's Project Underwood. That was the RAISE grant coming in there. So in the RAISE grant, we have match money, 600,000 for the farm to market, and 500,000 we have a little piece of local road that we may have to pay for.
On that Tamarack Road overpass.
Yes.
No way we can go at grade.
Right now, we're in design for that. We have 3 alternatives we're looking at. Or 2 alternatives, I guess. There's an at-grade crossing, which we will probably have to take a road report to get that. I don't think that's gonna happen easily. Then the other alternative is we have to make an overpass over the railroad, which is using today's design standards, we're gonna have to raise railroad highway to actually get enough elevation to get over because we're so close. So we have 2 different designs going, and when we get to a point in the design, we can ask the DOT for assistance or hearing with the railroad, I guess, to pursue that. We have at-grade crossings on the same railroad in Underwood and Neola and other places. We don't have an accident history there, so.
That's the same line, isn't it? Same rail?
Yes, yeah. It's Burlington Northern.
Is it Burlington Northern?
Mhm.
I think that's traffic on it's picking up.
It's just a dead end that goes up to Coon Rapids.
That going north.
Yeah, that's as far
I
as.
don't know where the traffic's coming from, but that one's definitely picking up. That's it runs through town too, right?
Yes,
They're on Madison Avenue where it screws everything up when it parks.
then we have several day labor jobs there. Those lower dollar amount ones are funds we're tracking because it's construction. The material costs are buried in inventory. So that's kind of some of the reporting change. We're not going to build a bridge for 40,000. We have those reportable costs, but we have the material somewhere else. So the larger ones is Center 23 and 21. Probably going to bid those as a bid package and have all the materials and construction costs in one spot. So we're doing those a little differently. We've been working on a project to regrade Lime Kiln Road there towards the bottom. We're still working towards that. Hopefully we can get something going this year. So the next slide's the next year. That was 26. 27, we have a G30 resurfacing. It's been in the program for a lot of years. We did a kind of a Band-Aid repair on that 5 years ago, and it's really worked out well for us. So that project's either gonna slide, get done, or get reallocated, but we've kind of got lucky on a project there, so I'm not sure if we should be doing reconstruction at this time on that one. Didn't expect it to turn out and last so long, but it's done well for us. 12 and 15, there are truss bridges. We're replacing those and ordering materials just for that specific project. So those costs are in there, and the lower cost ones are back to materials being in the inventory. It's 26. 29. Again, with the day labor, the $400,000 are truss bridges coming out. Lower dollar ones are more typical bridges for us to build. There's one federal aid in there, that's L34. There's kind of a middle section there from G30 up to where those twin bridges are. We will have funds saved to reconstruct that section in 28. So while we're not spending some money, we're trying to pool money to do these other projects. So that's a big project for us up there, about $7 million in that segment. That work could be like what we did on G30, where we tore it all out, recycled it, and overlaid it. We did that on G30 and L66. So it's that style of project.
Well, what's the life expectancy on those?
So when we do those, we put a lot of the money in the base, and the surface not so much, so we can just mill off the top of the ranches, put new on. So we're thinking in the future that's going to save a lot of costs in the future. Something they don't have to fix the base, they don't have to put the drains in, because we're doing all that up front. So a lot of our money's kind of in the base work in those. And
Right, so the base is good. Can you just go a couple times just over the top or without?
yeah, I probably wouldn't, because the higher we get, the less shoulders we have, I guess. So I'd probably mill two off, put two back on. But that's maybe a $300,000 mile cost compared to, to reconstruct, it's almost $1 million now. So it's
Right.
kind of giving options for somebody else. I won't be in my lifetime.
I was in Kansas a few years ago. They got this long train of trucks and everything. They grind it, they put it in a recycling deal, and they lay it right back down, right? All in one, there's no hauling and stuff. Sure looked efficient to me.
We tried to do that in Tamarack this year, actually, and that the estimate came in. I was gonna try to pay it out of balance, and I couldn't get it covered. It came out 5 million Tamarack from Merwood Highway to Avoca. Was it costing that? So it didn't.
To pull it up and redo it right there without hauling.
Yeah, Industrials is probably the company you saw that does that. So yeah, that's love to do one of those projects. And we did something similar in G30 that's been working out for us, but it wasn't exactly like that, I guess.
It was
A
pretty
recycling
neat
place.
to witness it. I just thought save a lot of money.
Anytime we can just recycle what we have and not haul in new, we're definitely saving some money and wear and tear on everything, the whole system really. Back to that, again, we're saving up for L34. We got some federal aid coming in there, and some of it's our farm to market funds. 29 kind of shrinks back. We started getting into a lesser projects. So when the federal grants came out, we needed to identify projects and start developing them so we can apply. So these are just kind of sitting in our program. They're unfunded. So it says IL, that's illustrative, and we were hunting for money, federal funds on those. So we had Wabash in there, 192nd Street, which by 2029, I think that one will be piecemeal together probably. You go to the next slide. So 2030 again with the illustrative. We have had some movement on that Lewis 8 bridge. I believe we have funding for that one. We haven't got it locked in yet, but I think we're going to be successful in getting that. Those other two segments are L34 are sitting there. If we can get it funded federally through a grant, we'll just keep saving money until we can do it. We have.
Excellent, the last 5 years.
I can't borrow money though.
What, the money that's sitting in MAPPA's bank is gonna be used where?
That Lewis 8 bridge. I was gonna get through that process. That Old Moran Bridge Road is it's not approved at this point. I'm gonna go talk to him about that in May. I may need your help to talk about that in May as well. You're on the MAPA board, right?
Yeah, I get to sign the checks.
So the project wasn't awarded, but they had adequate funds. They just said it scored too low. So we were just not funded based on a score, but there wasn't any competition to it. So there's funding balance there. So
So the project before that one, is that 100% then? Did you say a bridge?
no, it's an 80% cost share.
So 80% is, and you got to come up with 20?
Yeah, and we take that out of our farm market funds. The state's holding a fund that we don't get locally, so we use that as our cost share and match on
Okay.
a lot of these, so we can do that in that one. So it's showing up there as the 2.4 out of the federal aid and that 600,000 out of our farm to market fund.
But those monies we've got those monies over there.
The farm to market,
No, MAP has got the monies over there.
they have a balance, but they haven't awarded the projects.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
The funds exist.
But
They haven't given to us.
But then you still got to go through the bidding and that process, right?
Yeah, so that's why these are in 2030. It gives me time to go through the environmental and the right of way and all the buildup I need to do to.
I thought our current administration got rid of that environmental stuff.
Not yet. The project in Underwood, the reason that's delayed is they pulled all the environmental out of Iowa and it went to somewhere in DC. Then that got to be a bottleneck and I think they sent it back to the States, but now we lost the construction season just on where our report went.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
John, how could we move Tamarack up timeline?
It really comes to funds, I guess, if you don't do L34, which is just as, it's not great either. It's about as bad. We're kind of looking at maybe trying to do a quicker Band-Aid sort of repair on Tamarack and see if we can just push it down the road. We did that in G30 from Underwood to L66. That worked out pretty well for us, but I wouldn't expect to get that lucky every time, I guess, but
But Susan said that Tamarack is in
Yeah.
tough shape.
the tough thing is such a big stretch of road that, 5 miles, sure, but when you start getting to the 15 to 20 miles of anything, it's the cost.
Even if we could do a number of miles this year and then maybe next year or the year after. The engineers.
I don't know where to take the money from other than other projects, so that's the tough thing, I guess. Like I said, I had that 11 million in balance. I was trying to figure out if I could get a project out of that. I really couldn't
Yeah.
get a project out of that even. So
Okay.
2015 was the last, revenue increase for me with the gas tax. So we've just been getting ate up by inflation since. So
Everything keeps going up.
actually, the bridge got a little cheaper than our estimate. So
Did they?
yeah, I think maybe it's slowing down a little bit for us, but
Any truth to the rumor that asphalt prices are lower than they have been?
I haven't bid any, but with the oil prices coming down, I would expect the asphalt oil to be coming down as well. And that's the big piece of the puzzle, I guess, when you're doing those projects.
I don't know if we can figure out how to get rid of that disappearing rock.
What?
Disappearing rock, that limestone,
Yeah,
bring some of that red rock from up north.
good. I cut everybody's tires, and then they'd be mad for a different reason.
That's all right.
So the map of the 5 years, got the projects up there. Your map has a little more detail with the project name and a project ID number, but that's kind of where our projects are spread out. L66, we just finished that whole stretch from Minden down to 6 a couple years ago. Not much going on in the center of the county, which is pretty much where all of our activity's been in the last decade. G30 there from L66 over to Hancock. M16's been done. We've been working M47 from Walnut. And we're gonna get down to Montgomery County eventually, but we're gonna do this section in between 6 and 92 the next fiscal year. I think that'll be a fall letting. That'll probably be in project for next summer though, but
At the same time that Highway 59 is closed.
market. Can you put values on these?
Yeah, it'd be nice if there's a map, have numbers on it.
Oh, you want it on the map?
Pardon?
On the map?
No, well, in the boxes, if you guesstimate, so if I decide I wanna not do this 2026, I wanna do this 2028 up here. But I don't know the number in today's value, what that is. I know, I understand the value is probably gonna be greater as the years go on, but I don't even know what the base value is on these as of today. And then if there would happen to be money come down from either the state or the feds, which ones become potential priority, I guess. So I don't know, is that something that,
The funds. I guess you can see them on the year they're programmed in on, if you backed up a few slides are in there,
but I'd like to see it on this map, the guesstimate
on the map.
on this map.
I can make you that.
You can follow me?
Put them in our little boxes there.
Because you got 192nd, 2029 and shit. That
Oop.
thing's gonna, next year and the next 2 years, it's gonna blow loose.
Yeah, I think it'll be done piecemeal before we get there, but that's also illustrative. So I was looking.
Pardon?
That's also programmed as a grant. I don't have the money to do it, but I need to find it.
How do you know that it's, is that Orange Box State grant then, or what?
No, when you look at the project number, the ILL,
Yeah,
that's how they make me do it. It just means illustrative to the federal government, I guess, when they
but
review it.
that project number is not on this map, right?
You got an ID number, but nothing
Oh,
else.
it's, doesn't give the name on that one. It's 53330.
Right. So that's supposed to tell me it's a grant?
No, not on the map.
Okay,
It's more buried in the report.
okay. Well, you don't want me to fish that hard. So if we can kind of make this maps sing a little more.
Okay.
Be good.
John, I got a question. You got 240th Street in 2030, 92 South. Okay,
So when I do this, all these funds are limited. I can only show what I actually have. Unless I put the illustrative on there, then I'm saying I don't have the money, but I'm gonna find it. If I don't find it, we don't do it.
I know that guy out there said, I don't know who, he said one of the board members in the past said we were gonna pay, but I said, I don't ever remember that conversation. He insists that we're gonna pay, but,
I think it's gonna be a problem with the county if we don't get to it eventually, but.
oh, no doubt about it.
Happen to us.
No doubt about it.
So I'll update the map, then bring this back for approval next.
Yeah, this map should be, kind of a living document, so that it can, I guess, view it and see the changes in it or whichever. I mean, it's a little more user friendly, I think, for people than some of the other stuff that,
It's a better spreadsheet than it is a map. It's because the different funds have different rules and. different
Right,
balances.
that you start talking about those, this fund, that fund, and they're not, then you lost them. Grant, and so.
It'd be nice if we had it in a PDF or a Word format too. I mean, both of the things you give us, this map and this handout doesn't have the prices or the cost of any of these jobs, any of these projects. This doesn't either. The top bridge on that is the Hazeldale 23 bridge replacement. You look over into the total and it says $40.
What's like per 1,000. I'm back to the DOT reporting systems. Yeah, I will.
I got $35.
So,
Yours says thirty.
so you gotta
No.
make it usable for
I
us,
got 30.
not DOT.
Try to get five from you, we can get the bridge.
Well, you know, if we get that, when's this due, John?
Budget's due the 30th and the program's due May 15th.
We're not doing anything with this today.
No.
Right.
I mean, if we can get some numbers on some things, I like your idea, of maybe we switch a project around or something
Right.
in a different year. You need to know that.
Right.
You need to know the numbers before you can even consider something like
So
that.
working with, yeah. Okay, any other discussion for John?
Thanks, John. I
Yep.
know it's DOT format, but yeah, we're not DOTs.
You're not being guilty.
A lot of
Hey.
information to digest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So they're at, it's G30, I think, at the Underwood, where we're doing the bridge and that. So where G30 is going to, excuse me, eventually hook into Railroad Highway there. Well, will that be a 4-lane deal there? How, or is it gonna be 3 lanes? You know, a right-hand turn lane and then, because that's a true intersection. You can go straight across on that road too. And then you can turn left. And, you know, have you seen any, or is that you that's gonna mock that up or who's gonna?
Yeah, McClure is our consultant on that project. We have, so the turning lanes on G30 pass to the east of the railroad tracks.
Railroad tracks are right there too.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
a lot going on there.
right, so if another, and I don't know, say another company similar to Jack Links or a warehouse trucking company comes in and parks on the other side, what I call the north side of Railroad Highway. It's gonna be gotta use a better word. It's gonna be a yard sale. I mean, cause stuff starts backing up and with the train comes through, if we don't have enough turn lanes for people to continue to move, it's just not, it's not gonna be pretty.
There's not really storage on Railroad Highway if there's that development there. So a lot of what we did took care of the development we have.
Because that's all in the city of Underwood, right? So they don't have the wherewithal. So are you working through the city then?
Yes, we helped the city get the state grant for the bridge. They got some funds there, so that's kind of their,
Can they get money through MAPPA?
yeah, they can apply. Napa.
Cause they're probably gonna need
Or the
to,
borders, I guess, it might be in the
they're
RPA.
gonna probably really need to look at widening the railroad highway. Because that thing's gonna stack up. You start getting school buses and all that other stuff going. I mean, that's gonna be a interesting deal. And you're gonna put bikes with semi trucks and I can see it. See it now.
John, real quick, I have a question. Are you aware that there's an effort to increase the weight limits on the interstates?
Yes.
Is that going forward? Do you know where it's at right now?
Those weights are already allowed in my road, so I kind of hope it goes forward, I guess.
Yeah,
What do they want to go to?
80, I think.
No, they're 80 now.
90, I thought.
90
I
then.
thought it was 90.
90 then.
90 or 96?
Well, it might have
92.
been 96. And that'll help.
I think they're running-
alleviate some of the traffic.
Some of you guys always say 92, but it might be 96. They can run west out of, the terminals down there, but they can't run east. Those guys that are pulling in Nebraska, they give them a waiver of some sort. Maybe it is 96. Cause they used to run down the old, Veterans Memorial Highway, because then they could avoid the deal. This is not interstate. Anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
You got strictly enforced, you need some more strictly enforced, signs?
Crescent needs a handful of them.
Well, yeah, well, then the guy can get them off those other roads. Okay. Moving right along, other business. Discussion and or decision to approve and sign resolution number 16-25 regarding the board's recommendation for elected officials for fiscal year 2025-26.
So the board assumed all of the compensation board responsibilities for salary for the elected officials. And it was a changeover for all of us to do it differently this year. And we took the same approach that we did for all of our other employees. And we're looking at 3.25% increase for all of our employees for the most part. There are some exceptions. But when we looked at the elected officials, I know we didn't go and talk to all of you. We didn't ask you to come and voice your concerns. We did pull the ISAC salary list, and we thought we were in range with what the other counties were doing. And so we just thought we could do 3.25 across the board for all the elected officials as well. That was my take on our
That's
process.
exactly it.
It's a very unique system because, you know, we got people in positions that have been here for a long time. And then we've got people that have been elected very recently, and they get rewarded the same as a person that's been here for a long, long time. And that's not usually how, I don't want to say the real world, but in the government world, that's kind of the way it's been set up. And right, wrong, or indifferent, it kind of is what it is. I mean, do I know that the level of skills and services in the auditor office are the same level of skills and service in the recorder and the treasurer's office? I mean, I got my opinions. Or do I know that the treasurer's office is probably the highest transaction office in the courthouse versus the recorder and auditor's office? And given which time of year and if there's elections, and I mean, so there's a lot of dynamics that go into that. So that's my about 10 cents worth or 9.5 cents.
Could I give you my
Yeah, yeah, sure,
cents worth?
sure. You always do.
I really don't.
Oh, come on.
It's sort of disappointing to me that in 23 years, I've only come to whine about increases twice, and it's been the past 2 years. First of all, I mean, I'm actually not whining about 3.25%. I think that's fair. I think that the amount in today's environment with CPI, the way it is, and looking at other counties, I don't have a problem with that. Last year, I came to complain because you were ignoring the compensation board. This year, I'm coming to complain because you're ignoring us and also the law. I find it very disappointing that not a single one of you came to me at any point and asked what my opinion was or what my advice was. And it's not that I don't think I would have given you anything different than what you ended up doing. I've always, for 21 of my 23 years, I've come to the comp board and said, all I ever ask is that you keep me on pace with my peers around the state and that you keep me on pace with the cost of living. I haven't asked for a specific raise ever in my career. I don't do this job for the money. I do it because I love what I do, but I also would like to, keep pace. But but the fact that nobody even asked, I mean, I argue cases for a living. That's what I do. I go to court, I make my pitch, I take my lumps. Hopefully I win. Sometimes I lose, but judges don't ever just come into court and make a decision and say, oh, by the way, here's my decision. No need to hear from you. And so the thought that no one thought to ask us what our opinions were, I know I've talked to Andrew and Lee and Mary Ann and the sheriff. I don't think a single person was asked, like, what do you think should happen? And I mean, honestly, for me, I feel like I've been here long enough, it's a little offensive. But the reason it's a bigger problem for you this year is because the law changed. In 2024, it says that, you've taken over the rules or the duties of the comp board, but the comp board's duties changed. And I told you that at a study session, September 24th. I told you that there's show your work requirements that now apply. I know Mitch has given you that information, and you chose not to do it. And that's what's really, I guess, irritating to me. Even in your, the supervisor's manual that ISAC puts out, I looked right that up, page 47, tells you what you're supposed to do. 331-907 requires written documentation demonstrating how you determine recommended compensation schedule, including by providing and I'm just quoting, the applicable compensation information for comparable officers in other counties of this state, other states, private enterprise, and the federal government. The ISAC salary survey that you requested from Jana probably satisfies the county's response to that. It has nothing to do, it does not show that you compared private enterprise, federal government, or, other states. It's even worse for the sheriff. The sheriff actually has very specific requirements that the back the blue law and the amendments to the compensation board. You're required, you have to show how you've set the sheriff's salary to be comparable to the salaries of professional law enforcement administrators and command staff with state patrol, with the Division of Criminal Investigation of the Department of Public Safety, and city police chiefs employed by cities of a similar population. If a single elected official in this room decided to file a lawsuit against this Board of Supervisors for how you've handled county compensation this year, I would have no defense for you. I could not do it. I don't think anybody here is super upset about the amount, but the process was, you just did not follow the law. And if anyone had just asked me, if someone just come to me with the respect of saying, hey, here's what we're thinking this year, I would have been happy to provide you with A, my opinion, B, some legal advice. But when nobody asked for my advice, I can't give you advice. And that's my job. I'm extra irritated because my job is to protect you legally. And when nobody asked for that protection, then you put yourselves in a tough spot. So I feel like this board was stubborn. It did not want information. It did not ask for information. Mitch is trying to tell you, like, here, you've got more information than let me show your work. You did not need that information. Like, for 20 some years, this is the way we've done it. And that would have been fine if we were 20 some years ago, but we're not. July 1st, 2024, the law changed. I told you that in October or in September, and no one chose to reach out. So I'm hoping you will not find yourself in litigation with anyone. If you do, we're in trouble. I'm just telling you that right now. I'm not saying you get sued personally, but you'd be directed to follow the law, and that's embarrassing. But I guarantee you, if this happens again next year, I will file that lawsuit myself.
So why was it that we were not given those? I know you said you came in September. Kristen's been sitting here. Mitch has never brought anything to my knowledge to me about this. Jana did all the homework for us and gave it to us, which we relied on HR to do that. And so I guess I hate to, plead ignorance, but I thought we were following down the road, because what we found in the past was only some scribble notes of what was given for them to decide what the raise would be.
And that's why the law changed.
No, I understand.
Many irritated boards of supervisors said those comp boards have not been showing their work. And so they changed that law, and that's why I told you, is when we sat here at that study session, and I said, I have confidence this board will follow the law. I said, I didn't express any opinion about whether you
Right.
did or did not abolish the comp board. I said, I have confidence that this board will follow the law. Didn't happen.
Okay.
So hope it doesn't happen again.
So do you have, other than what you stated already, a template that we should start working from?
I don't, I mean, I would have been, I told the board at the time, is I'll be happy to help you prepare that.
Okay,
I assumed that would have happened. Now, I will tell you this, your resolution is fine, right? I mean, as far as 331, 434, it says what you have to put in your resolution. I don't have any problem with that resolution, and raises can't even be effective if you don't follow that. Trust me, I don't want to get hoist on my own petard, come in and make a good argument, screw myself over on a raise, right? So, 331, 434 is correct. It does not affect these. But you are required, you can't go back and say, well, we actually did consider it, because I know you didn't. I mean, I know you only looked at the salary survey and you looked at the available budgets and you put that right in your resolution. So I know what you looked at. There's more that you were supposed to do. So I think
that as a board.
as a board, that's
Right.
the comp board.
Because I
You're not just-
guarantee,
You're not just the board of supervisors, you are effectively the compensation board.
No.
When you said you were not going to do 331, or you're not gonna bring in the compensation board, you agreed to take those duties on yourself. And that is what all comp boards are required to do, including yourself. You have to have a written documentation to show how you considered all those things.
okay,
Matt, I have a question. Okay, so this is the first year. When it first came up, I was in favor of maybe retaining or selecting a compensation board that would be able to manage these things rather than us as a board doing it ourselves. So moving forward, would you recommend maybe other individuals taking this on?
I don't care, honestly, I don't care at all. I literally don't care. I just want to make sure whoever is reviewing compensation is following the statute. That's it.
Well, I want to apologize to the elected officials. You know, it was new and we're human. Made a mistake, I apologize.
I would, I'll apologize, but I know I did my due diligence. Guess I didn't think about sitting down with you, Matt, but, we'll definitely make sure that, I will if, the rest of the board. Going into the board, like after January 1, but, I honestly want to see these other counties, what they came up with for documentation. I mean, there's a lot of garbage in, garbage out that I can tell you for positions or like positions. And I don't know how you compare in the private sector, what Lee and Andrew and the auditor does. Whether they have the educations or degrees or certifications that those people in the private sector have to have, and that whole dynamics and stuff, but
Scott, it honestly wouldn't have been hard.
no,
I'm just saying I think you literally could write a template that said, we reviewed other state,
Right.
like, you have the ISAC salary, the survey. The County Attorneys Association does a salary survey for county attorneys. And the good news for you with that one, right, had you asked, is it actually provides state judge, state public defenders, what Illinois prosecutors make. I mean, it gives you all of that information so that you're in a position where you literally could just take that document and it would cover almost 100% of what you would need to satisfy your requirements. I mean, for the county attorneys. And, you know, generally speaking, like I said, in the past, nobody has cared. This year it was different. And I don't care 98 other counties can, mess up. I expect we don't mess up here. And it would have been, I would have been glad to help you and somebody reached out. I honestly expected that was gonna happen. I mean, until I saw the elected official compensation pop up on a study session agenda like last week, when the draft agenda came out, I was like, oh, I guess we're hearing about the issue. So I would have had no opportunity to even see what you had until your packet came out literally yesterday morning. So, I mean, if you want to, hold me, to the fire for anything, could I have reached out to you yesterday and said, hey, you messed up? Sure, right? But at some point, when I haven't been heard for 6 months, at some point, I probably passively aggressively sat back and let you, walk into this. Because if nobody's gonna ask for my advice, it's not my requirement to proactively go out and give it. So that's why I'm irritated. It's not that we couldn't have done this. And like I said, I'm extra irritated because I don't even disagree with the rates. I mean, I think it was fair. So, but process is important. It's really important to lawyers, right? Process is important.
I'm not trying to, defend any of our actions up here. We were relaxed significantly, I'll admit that, but, I mean, we can have all the information we want, look at all the information, analyze it, but it all goes back to a couple of things. What can we afford? And then what is the state legislature doing with our future budgets? And again, I mean, to me, that's where the importance lies. And it just made it simple. We're always looking to make things simple for us to proceed. The budget, we're under constraints on both sides, what we get for revenue, and what we have to spend for expenditures. So whatever extra input we would be looking at for this year, still, I don't think would made it a difference, in my opinion.
Jim, I
Going
don't
to
disagree. I'm just saying,
a
we can't walk into court. I charge somebody with attempted murder and the judge says, you know what, 10 years is a fair sentence. That's what you get. And then we just go, oh, thanks, Judge, that's good, right? That's not the way the process works, right? At least both sides get to come in and say their piece, and then the judge makes a decision. Right? So that's where I said, it's
our
not,
first year, we'll learn.
All right.
Learn. Appreciate it. Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Document.
Anyone else?
I'm again in agreement with Matt and with what he said, but I am also not looking for any more than what you guys are offering. I'm mainly here today just to make sure that, the non-union employees are getting the same thing everybody else is. That's all I'm concerned about. So like I said, I talked about it before, I told you before, I'll be happy with whatever you give me. I just want to make sure that, my captains, lieutenants, sergeants are getting the same as what everybody else is, so we're not starting to press wages again. So that's my biggest concern today, so. And do I think I deserve more than 3.25? Absolutely, because I have a chief of police that's making, way more than what I am for 100 less employees, and he's not running a jail and civil department in court, and, it's, that's why the back blue bill was created, because there was such a disconnect between sheriffs and chiefs of police the same size that, we're not getting compensated correctly. That's why that bill was passed, and, luckily it's been consistent, so here at least, so it hasn't been a huge issue, so. But there was definitely a lot of counties out there that were substantially underpaid, and they're starting to catch up a little bit, so.
I did, just for your information, Andy, I did ask what the, salary of the Council Bluffs Police Chief was. And his salary, last year was $159,266, and you are at $165,809. So
That's
you are
this year. I
more.
don't think I don't think that's those numbers are, at least last calendar year.
That's good. Great question.
Well, I think,
And the fact that he was again, like what Scott said, he was a brand new chief. Came from the, nothing against his, credibility and his knowledge of law enforcement, but he came from Illinois State Police to a chief of police in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and was on year one and then was making almost what Carmody was making. So it's kind of the same thing what Scott was saying, just he deserves the same pay as what the exiting chief got. That's, I guess, up for debate, so.
well,
Well, I mean, you said that it makes a lot more than you, and I wanted to make sure that you knew what he was making. I got this information from Matt Walsh. I did a lot of you know, we didn't write it down in a document, but we all did our homework and got information from Jana as far as where Potawatomi County ranks in the state as far as elected officials' salaries go. And we're all in the top 10, and Potawatomi County is the 10th largest county in the state. So we did our due diligence. However, we didn't document the way we should have. I think we should have got a heads up from that. We didn't. But nevertheless, we'll make the corrections and get it right the next time.
I think also that they have the ability, and I think probably each government entity does, but I think they did some deferred comp stuff with that. I know this is public record, but, with that police chief thing, so I'm not sure you can always get the right, numbers if they negotiate that type of situation with the position and such, so. There's some other dynamics sometimes working with those.
Well, yeah, you know, the dynamics could go all the way down to who provides the best insurance plan. Health insurance plan too, Scott.
Yeah,
So there's more to it. I understand.
And you can't, we can't look at that for our positions. I don't know if the city has apparently some maybe other latitude to do some things of that nature.
So how can we fix this? If we don't approve resolution 16-2025 today and table it for next week, having a conversation with each of the elected officials by 5 of us up here isn't going to change the outcome. It's going to be the same results. I mean, it's just adding the courtesy statement, and it's adding the ability to check that box on the spreadsheet of what our requirements are.
I believe we're required by code. Becky, correct me if I'm wrong, that these need to be approved at the time our budget hearing is and when it's.
Absolutely, that's 331, 434. So if you want to correct your problem by giving us 0 raises because you don't approve this today, I will really be unhappy.
So we don't have a choice. It has to happen today.
Appreciate you calling us out on this. I really do.
And I'll direct any questions you need from me to my attorney. Thank you.
I read the rule last fall when it came out, and I made the motion to not reinstate the compensation board and to accept those responsibilities. And I missed it. I should have gone back and got the rule book out again, and I just thought we were doing everything we were supposed to be doing, and we missed it. My apologies.
And I really would have thought, and you say ISAC, but I went to their stuff and they really didn't, at their stuff, they didn't really give us what they probably should have been giving us. The ones that didn't or did change from the comp board to the board, but apparently they did in some written document, which I'll find. So, I mean, I don't think there was any malintent by the board to not have the elected officials. I hope that we continue to have the relationship we got. I know this caused a little bit of a hiccup, that's for darn sure. But I know this board member's been open to work with all the elected officials. So, and I think the rest of them have too. So, but I can truly only really speak for myself. So, I apologize. I think we'll correct that, and hopefully we can all move on together.
That, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 16-2025.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
Give them more.
It's your money.
Okay.
Okay, Fran said,
Thanks, Fran.
I'm gonna take it away from somebody else.
No further discussion. Roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Shea,
aye,
Supervisor Jorgens.
Aye.
Okay. Discussion and/or
Thank you, Matt.
decision to
Really appreciate
approve and authorize the board to sign resolution 17-2025 entitled Resolution of the Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors regarding wage increases for non-union employees.
I will make the motion that we approve resolution number 17-2025, increasing the salaries for non-union employees by 3.25%.
so moved, or second.
Discussion?
Yeah. Is that, are we doing this in the way that we had the conversation? Ms. Lemrick, if you can help me with this, didn't, we move the step and grade 0.75 and then they got a step?
I don't think I was invited to that meeting. I think that was a study session that Mitch was in that I was not invited in. But I do believe if we follow suit in ways past, you would move the pay range appropriate along with the 2.5% step to total 3.25. So you would move the step and grade by 0.75%. Everyone gets a step increase of 2.5%, equaling 3.25% total.
And those off the step got 3.25.
Correct.
I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that before we, because it's really not spelled out here.
That's what it says, yeah.
I want to make sure that we're all still okay moving in that direction. So we'll move the step 0.75. Employee gets a step. Goes off the step, gets 3.25.
That's the way I understand.
I would, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, I got a motion by
Whoever did that,
Miller and
would you include
Supervisor-
that in your motion?
I would. Want to make that clear.
Who was the second on that?
Shay.
Shay.
Did he?
Yes.
So,
So you're amending your motion?
yeah. That language is not actually in the resolution. So are we allowed to amend the resolution to include that language now?
Absolutely.
We need to.
Yeah. So do we have the correct language?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay. Jana, can you give us the correct language to go into that?
Yes. So we move step one. Step one is moved by 0.75%. Employees move a step at 2.5%. Which equals a 3.25% pay increase. Goes off the step and grade or in a bucket, however you want to phrase it, receives a 3.25%.
For non-union employees.
What's a bucket?
Let me get that.
Kind of that.
So-
What bucket?
If you're on step 12, and if I only move the step and grade by 0.75%, you only get 0.75% because there's no place else to move you. And the board would like everyone to get a 3.25. So you have to put them into, what has in the past been referred to as a bucket. If you keep them on step 12, they only get 0.75. So you have to move them off of that step and grade into, we just call it a bucket to get 3.25%. It has been done in years past as well.
You're not getting two increases. You get the same amount as everybody else. So. You're good with that?
Mary Ann, do you want to read it back?
So we're amending it. I'm probably,
Okay,
all right.
therefore be it resolved that the Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors hereby approves a step and grade increase of
Just a step increase,
just a step increase,
increase the grade.
okay, a step increase of 0.75.
No, the step increase is 2.5%.
2.5.
Right.
All right, do we want to table this for next?
Well, I think if you, we can certainly do that. I want to make sure we get it right. If you move step one on the grade of 0.75, then you go 2.5% for each step after that. That's how it works. So we would be increasing step one for non-union employees by 0.75%, and they would get and they get a step.
We're total
Total of 3.25%.
right. I mean, it's Tuesday or?
This isn't time sensitive. It doesn't have to be done today,
No, that's what I'm saying.
like the other ones.
Gotta do it.
If we want to get the wording 100% correct, work with, our HR department on getting that done. We can certainly table until next. Might be the better thing.
I think Kristen has an idea.
No.
Oh,
Sorry. Because Mitch, you and I had talked about this when I originally wrote the resolution 2 weeks ago, and your recommendation was maybe not to put that much detail
Well,
in it.
yeah, the one we had, one last year, because it was a complicated year last year for budgets. It didn't need as much detail, but we can probably make this a little more specific to what typically happens, we typically do.
I think I do have it already written out. It's just when Mitch and I had spoke, but maybe we can do it a little simple. So I can help with the wording.
if you have it written out, can you access it right now? We just want to make sure that we've got it completely worded.
Caveat with the word may. May have saved it, or I may have written over it for the simpler one that went on today's agenda.
Okay, I rescind my motion. I'll make the motion to postpone until next week.
Till next week.
No, he's in my second.
Okay. We don't need to. We need to roll call vote on that.
Are you seconding then to,
His,
Please rescind.
rescind
Table.
table.
okay,
You just let it die for no action.
Oh. We need a roll call on that.
well, if there is no motion and no second, then it dies from, there's no mo, I
No
mean,
action.
there's no motion, you can't vote on it.
Committee appointments. Yeah,
I was at the Southwest Juvenile Detention meeting last Thursday. Our facility is maintaining its population. They lost their longest KD, I guess, here just recently. They're quite a while. Many months, but anyway, still, basically the population count is still retaining. And they're doing okay. They're getting a lot of inquiries from outside the region, their region, to retain juveniles from other areas of the state and even from other states. So that's where it's at.
Not last week, but the week before, I was up in Ames at the Rural Summit and done conservation and VA. And then spent a week in the hospital.
fun.
It was not.
Good thing you made it back from Ames.
No kidding. Who thought of that?
I was, at Thriving Family Alliance, and they've shuffled the deck on that. They're gonna align, the 0 to 5, which is the population they deal with most, generally, with, whatever they're calling, Suzanne's thing now, behavioral health. So they got a lot more counties to deal with and such. Schools have not really came out yet, just exactly how that will be done and how the funding is gonna come down. But they still are pushing for July 1st. So we got some interesting things that are gonna happen July 1st. Probably we won't feel the effect until August 1st. So that's about it. Tim?
Nope.
Susan?
I attended the WIDA board meeting last week, and last night I made dinner for the fire chiefs, and they were taking steps. We're gonna start looking at establishing an EMS advisory council. It's just the beginning steps, and it's just, they will probably come in and present at some point to the Board of Supervisors. And then I also attended a meeting out to the jail yesterday, and we'll be doing a study session in the future for what the jail study results turned out to be.
Did the fire chiefs, did you have, city fire chief also?
Yes, he was there.
Good. Yes. Okay,
All the cities were there except for Hancock.
Hardly.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, public comment. Now is the time for the public comments. We are now discontinuing the live broadcast on the advice of our county